Si acaso de aquello no queda nada, serena te cantaré mis verdades, obviando todo el dolor que me invade, dolor que tiene la forma de espada. Es triste mi corazón, la luna ya no es igual, y ahora me ven tan sola en la calle. Si fuera por mí, te pediría, te quedarás siempre junto a mí. Recuerdo pasaron años y años y nunca te demostré mi alegría. Mi vida, qué gran sentido tenía, no pudo pasar de pérfido ensayo. Deduzco por lo demás que es tiempo de revisar si vale la pena morir callada. Por eso te doy mi nuevo aliento, cuánto siento mi cribado amor. Las noches velan distinto, mi piel no suda de amor como un día ocurrió. Y si es verdad que acabó, ofrezco para ti esta sentida canción. Ay, mi bello amor, no hay verso ni guitarra que me alegre hoy. Ay, mi grande amor, deseábamos un sueño y se soñó. Las noches velan distinto, mi piel no suda de amor como un día ocurrió. Y si es verdad que acabó, ofrezco para ti esta sentida canción.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all our followers. We are back with our series of webinars with the Latin American ambassadors in Ankara. This week, we are together with His Excellency, Mr. Jose Gregorio Bracho Reyes, Ambassador of Venezuela in Turkey. Mr. Ambassador, I would like to thank you on behalf of Ankara University for participating in our international webinar series. Welcome.
Merhaba Necati, nasılsınız?
Merhaba Sayın Büyükelçi, teşekkür ediyoruz, iyiyiz.
Çok iyi. O Davet, çok teşekkür ederim.
Güzel, siz güzel de Türkçe konuşuyorsunuz ama bizim webinar serimiz İngilizce.
Hey.
Lo podíamos haber hecho en español o en inglés o en turco, pero bueno, esta vez va a ser en inglés.
También.
Bueno, embajador, si me permite, voy a empezar con la primera pregunta. I'm going to start with the first question, Mr. Ambassador. We know that it's been a long time since you are in Turkey. You were the Consul General in Istanbul, and then you were designated as ambassador in Ankara. Could you please, Mr. Ambassador, be so kind to give us and our participants more information about your mission and your feelings about your life in Turkey?
Okay, Necati, thank you. For me, it's an honor to be able to share this space with you, Necati. I have to say thank you for this opportunity that you offer me to address all those who are connected at this moment in Turkey and around the world. Well, it's not an easy task, but I will try to summarize as best as possible. I am Jose Bracho, PhD history from the University of Barcelona, and I started this diplomatic job in the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Venezuela 16 years ago. I'm the ambassador of Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. I'm living in and working in Turkey since 2008. But previously, I was working at our embassy in La Paz, Bolivia. In other words, I already have 12 years of experience in this country. As you have before, I was first Consul General in Istanbul, and I had the historic opportunity to open the first Venezuelan and Latin American Consulate General in the ancient capital of three empires, Byzance, Constantinopolis, Istanbul. Let me tell you that all these years I have been very enriching experience as a historian, as a diplomat, and as a human being. I have been able to be a witness to the gigantic steps that Turkey has been taking to a very important democratic transformation in different fields till reaching today political, social, and economic stability. For me, perhaps the most important since the founding of this republic in 1923. Let me tell you that it was my turn as Consul General in Istanbul to receive the first Foreign Affairs Minister of Venezuela on an official visit to Turkey. It was in 2010, and the chancellor was Nicolás Maduro. You know, then already in my role as ambassador, I had to prepare the first official visit of a Venezuelan president, Turkey, and the president was Nicolás Maduro. Later, it was my honor to receive and work on the first official visit of a Turkish president to Venezuela. My admired president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. That was almost a couple of years ago, in December 2018. You know, Nejati, that I have a deep affection and respect for this country because, in addition, my daughter has grown here. You know, she came here with only 1 year and now she's 13. And my second daughter was born here in Ankara. Federica is Ankarali.
Ankaralı, exactly.
Like you know, Nejati, I'm passionate about the history of this country, especially the history of the Republican period. Also, I'm also interested in the history of the Ottoman Empire. You know, we could say that I am your student.
Exactly. Thank you very much for this information, Mr. Ambassador. You mentioned the official visits, and you mentioned that you were honored to have your president in Ankara and to have our president in Caracas. So we shared that honor too, because President Maduro's visit to Ankara University was a very important milestone for us too. We had the honor to have President Maduro in this building in our rectorate when he visited. So I would like to express our gratitude for that to you and to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs that you had worked together to make that possible back then. Thank you very much for that. My second question, Mr. Ambassador, is going to be about the tragic and most important event of this year. Could you please give us some information in the difficulties of COVID-19 pandemic and how your country's healthcare system helped on the fight against this pandemic? We know that you don't have many cases in Venezuela and even less losses about the pandemic, but still you have been affected too as a country. So could you please tell us some things about this pandemic situation in Venezuela?
Well, in order to stop or minimize the effects of the pandemic in Venezuela, I think 4 vectors must be taken into account. The first one is the decisions and measures taken currently and on time by our government. One is the functioning of the public health care system created in revolution. The third one may be the discipline with which the people respond by measures and restrictions decreed by the revolutionary government. Or, and last, but not less important, the solidarity that we have received from our friendly government. It's also fair to say that we must say thank to the People's Republic of China, Russia, Iran, Cuba, and of course, Turkey, for all the cooperation and solidarity that they have given us at this difficult time. The numbers of deaths in Venezuela is minimal. This barely reached the number of 70 in the whole country with more than 30 million inhabitants. The almost 2 million of tests applied in our country have been totally free. And on the other hand, and it's very important to say that our government are bringing basic supplies to humble families. It's very important, especially for all those who live on informal activities, so that they are not forced to go out to the street to meet with danger. Another very important thing is that our health professionals have gone house to house. Our health professionals don't sit and wait for people to come to hospitals. The public health system and professionals have efficiently meshed with the communities, organized into communal councils scattered throughout all. Let me repeat, Najati. All people are accept with responsibility the measures adopted efficiently and on time by our President Nicolás Maduro.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. It's good to hear that the healthcare system in your country is working accurately and efficiently against this pandemic. It's good to hear that as a friendly country and individually for me, because I had studied in Venezuela, so I consider Venezuela a part of my life too. Mr. Ambassador, could you please point out some specific sectors such as tourism, agriculture, or pharmaceutical industry, and how they were affected during this pandemic, and what was their response to this unusual period?
Well, Nayati, if you ask me about the sectors most affected by the virus, let me tell you that. I have to reply you that definitely the worst virus for us is imperialism. The virus has affected all normality in all sectors of daily life in Venezuela. The virus is the imperialism. For us, there is a much greater danger than the COVID-19 pandemic. That danger is the unjust and illegal blockade imposed on the Venezuelan people by the government of the United States. The blockade imposed by the United States government not only prevents medicine from arriving, but also does not allow count on our resources to be able to acquire everything that our people need. You know, Nayati, we can't even buy the additives necessary to process our oil and make gasoline. Can you imagine what that means? And even in pandemic times, they have not to do pause. They declare us an unfair and disproportionate war. But despite Nayati, all that cruel war, all Venezuelans now do hold home. We have not been able to make us kneel because we have a deep sense of dignity and very clear homeland concept. We are not going to kneel before any empire. I just want to comment that if 209 years ago, our ancestors fought for the independence of Venezuela, today all the revolutionary people in Venezuela is ready to defend our freedom and our sovereignty, wherever the cost. Nayati, Kardashin, Inambana, believe me, I'm telling you this because really, the impact of COVID-19 on Venezuela population has been minimal. One of the lowest on the world. The worst damage, the irreparable damage, is due to the impact action of the blockade.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. You expressed, you mentioned the blockade that's being imposed on your country and the difficulties caused by this embargo, this blockade. And you mentioned that it is the 209th year of independence of Venezuela. We should congratulate your National Day too. It was the 5th of July. Just you celebrated and we celebrated it together in Ankara too. And Atakule was showing the colors of the Venezuelan flag on that night. So we were proud of that. Please accept our sincere congratulations for the 209th anniversary of your independence, Mr. Ambassador. Now,
Sağ olun.
sağ olun. The fourth and last question maybe will be about Venezuela and Turkey. As you mentioned, you just told us that during the pandemic months of this year, you had the collaboration of China, of Russia, of Iran, and Turkey. My specific question is going to be about Venezuela and Turkey that have excellent relations. What could you tell us about these relations and the possibilities of cooperation during the present pandemic and afterwards? Please tell us some words, please mention about the new treaty, the Treaty of Commercial Development that was signed and has entered into effect in the first days of July, Mr. Ambassador.
Well, recently, our governments have just ratified an agreement that was signed in 2018 for the ministers Sebekji and Serpa, and which is much more than a free trade agreement. For cooperation and development that will serve to complement our economies. Nayati, I have had to work to help lay the foundations of strategic relationship between Turkey and Venezuela. A relationship that precisely this year reached 70 years of life. But even though we have 70 years of diplomatic relationship, you know, the strategic relationship was born, rather, we start to build it about 10 years ago. I am a part of a great team of professionals led by Hugo Chavez as president that start working on this important project with the first official visit of Nicolas Maduro as chancellor in 2010. Yeah? It's a relationship based on mutual respect, solidarity, and deep admiration for the history and achievement of these people of Turkey who have managed to overcome all kinds of difficulties until we come today. Perhaps for me, in the last 16 years, as a mandatory reference for all who want to study an understanding of world geopolitics. Well, we have sealed an alliance with Turkey based in respect and solidarity. This is a great and strategic alliance. For this reason, Nayati, we will continue to advance in all possible sectors during and after the pandemic, with blockade and without blockade, because we work within the framework of legality and within the rules of coexistence and freedom of international trade in commerce, tourism, agriculture, energy and oil, just mining, security, education, and of course, in the health sector. In all those areas for which there are already signed cooperation agreements between our governments. Nayati, tekrar biz kez daha bu özel için teşekkür etmek istiyorum.
Biz teşekkür ediyoruz Sayın Büyükelçi. We are thankful. We would like to express our gratitude for participating today, Mr. Ambassador. And we would like to send our best regards and greetings to Venezuela too. And many of the participants may know, in Venezuela, they have excellent parties, good music, excellent food, and when the party ends, the last song they play is Alma Llanera. So in the beginning, we couldn't start with Alma Llanera, but if you would allow me, Mr. Ambassador, I would like to end with Alma Llanera. How do you like that?
Excellent idea for finish.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Our best wishes for the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the people of Venezuela. Good afternoon, and ending with Alma Llanera.
Teşekkür ederim Necati. Gracias Turquía. Gracias Turquía.
Yo nací en esta ribera del Arauca vibrador. Soy hermano de la espuma, de las garzas, de las rosas. Soy hermano de la espuma, de las garzas, de las rosas y del sol, y del sol. Me arrulló la viva diana de la brisa en el palmar y por eso tengo el alma como el alma primorosa, y por eso tengo el alma como el alma primorosa del cristal, del cristal. Amo, lloro, canto, sueño con claveles de pasión, con claveles de pasión. Para ornar las rubias crines al potro de mi amador. Yo nací en esta ribera del Arauca vibrador. Soy hermano de la espuma, de las garzas, de las rosas y del sol. Me arrulló la viva diana de la brisa en el palmar y por eso tengo el alma como el alma primorosa, y por eso tengo el alma como el alma primorosa del cristal, del cristal. Amo, lloro, canto, sueño con claveles de pasión, con claveles de pasión. Para ornar las rubias crines del potro de mi amador. Yo nací en esta ribera del Arauca vibrador. Soy hermano de la espuma, de la garza, de las rosas y del sol.